Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Observable Flutter. My name is Craig Labenz, and I'm your host. And today, I'm going to be tiptoeing through the minefield that I've been creating over the past two streams, where I attempt to build a stream comment watcher that could one day be my go-to comment tooltip featurer, popper-upper, etc., etc. So today, like last week, is going to be heavily about restructuring, actually just coding things for real, as opposed to stream one, which was just duct taping something together that technically worked. Stream two, a little bit of polish. We're going to continue with that. So before we get too far, folks, do recall that this is the Flutter community, and we all think highly of ourselves in terms of conduct and, pro-social behavior, we'll call it. So let's stick with that. Okay. Well, how's everyone doing? On this here fine day, Randall was frisked, which is just great. Also, my camera feed seems to be a little choppy today. Most unfortunate. That happens every now and then. I don't really understand why. It's pretty annoying. Well, anyway, so yeah, one of the pieces of drama in the last few weeks of doing this has been me showing my API key every stream. So today, I'm not going to do that, which I'm ready to feel very proud of myself over. So don't look now, but your boy is finally going to not air his dirty laundry on the stream. Pretty exciting. Getting my Windows set up over here. Oh, my DCM license expired. For shame. All right. So here's our old thing. Oh, I'm on the wrong theme. Preferences, theme, synthwave. There we go. Always have to change themes when I record something for video, because we use a different theme in all the Flutter videos. This time, show the Gemini API key, please. What do you mean this time? That's all I've been doing. I'm like a broadcast network showing my API keys. You're a newbie. How should you learn? Are you new at Flutter specifically, or are you new at programming in general? Because that would dramatically flavor my response. Well, hi, Steph. Hi. Spelled it the same way we always do on the daily WTF. I'm not familiar with the daily WTF, though life today is a daily WTF. So in some sense, it's highly relatable. All right, so I'm going to make a new API key, and I'm going to do it not in this window, which means I need to find my personal Chrome tab window. There we go. I'm going to be looking away from chat for a minute here. Guess I'll go back to this mode. All right, Google Cloud Console. Here we are. Yeah, that's it. Now I got to switch to my YouTube streamer project. And now I got to find the API key window again. Where was that? Security? Maybe? No, that's not it. IAM? Not seeing API keys in IAM either. Oh, APIs and services? No, doesn't seem to be there either. Really would have thought it would have been in one of those. When I find it this time, I'm going to star it. Let's see, do any of you know where this is? All right, I think I'm going to have to bring this on the screen. I'll just, oops, that's not the one. I will just not actually show the API key once I create it. That'll be the trick. So where is the API key thing that I need? Alerting. Maybe I'll just search API key. API key. Credentials. Oh, API keys, API. Whoa. Nope. I did this exact thing last week. I wouldn't have to enable it. I've already done it. So that ain't it. So back to API keys. Let's try credentials. This is it. Here do be the thing. Let's create a credential. It's going to be an API key. And now I'm going to move it off the screen. Look at me. Learning. All right. Got it. So now I'm going to make a new Dart file that will, again, not be on the stream, where I'm going to put this. And I guess I'll just be data here. New file. This will be the API key.dart. I'll say const API key equals, and I will paste that in off stream. And then in the YouTube comment thing, where does the API key happen? That's the question. Oh yeah, we're going to need a new video ID. That one is less sensitive. That one will just paste back in. Oh, where does the API key happen? Well, once again, I'm going to have to revisit this code base, remember what I even wrote 2 weeks ago. Let's just search API key. There we go. Oh, I already had a file, API key.dart, your value here. So that's actually what I do in this new file that I made. Where are these things? Oh, and just in a different folder. Okay. So the new file is gone. And apparently I'll put the value here, which won't be on stream because I'm a smarty pants. And I can do bad all by myself. Okay, there we go. Closing the file. Returning to the correct view. You Gemini CLI to explain your code base to you. That's a good idea. But I'm going to walk through it so I can narrate the bad decisions that I've made and explain my deeper regrets. Hello again, Dean. Good to see you. My friend just had a kid and they named him Dean, but you are much older than that Dean. Much older. Proportionally, it's pretty crazy, but the proportion is also shrinking, which is a curious math detail. All right, I need to pull the YouTube video ID. So I'll grab this from the URL. And where was that? I should centralize this as well, but I'll do that later. Okay, here we go. I will update Z shell. That doesn't take long. I mean, oh my Z shell. Love these sessions. Glad notifications are no longer a worry. It's all working great now. Oh, what are these notifications you're talking about? I'd like to hear more about that. Should we encrypt the keys? Yeah, I did. There was a long chat last week about the keys. Generally, if a key is suitable for the client, then users will have it, whether it's baked into the binary of the Flutter app or somehow just sitting in plain text in the JavaScript that you serve up. So for those kinds of keys, it just is what it is. Even if you encrypt it, the client would have to decrypt it. So also baked into the code would be the logic to decrypt the API key. So that would be what is belovedly known as security by obscurity, which is the lowest form of security. If rote memorization is the lowest form of learning, then security by obscurity is the lowest form of security. But it is, it's more valuable than nothing. But if you have an actually sensitive API key, then you keep it on the server and you call that endpoint from your client, and then you can handle whatever throttling or rate limiting, and those are the same thing, authorization, whatnot, that you need to do on the server endpoint. And then once all those checks are passed, then you use your sensitive API key. If I was actually making this app and distributing it, there would be a screen in the beginning where the user would input their API key. So this app would just bring the software, the user would bring their API key, and then they would be on the hook for whatever charges they run up. Hello from Japan, Lucas. Lucas, I believe you are applying to be GDE, if I recall correctly. Good to see you. How can I make my app uncrackable? I'd say use vibranium. And then I hear that's the strongest metal. Can't be cracked. No, an uncrackable piece of software, not a thing. Not a thing. Okay. Oh no, did I leak this? Am I Olandria and leaked your unobtainium? Yeah. There we go. It is unobtainable to have an uncrackable piece of software. All right, let's remember how this works. First, I'm going to run it to make sure that it does in fact work. And let's not Flutter clean, because that'll just make it take longer. While it cooks up or starts or whatever phrase I'm trying to say, let's remind ourselves how on earth this Rube Goldberg machine works. So we got a main file, pretty thin, immediately goes to a chat screen. There's no routing, no navigation. This is the worst app ever made. So let's look at the chat screen. And here we have a chat block, which is initialized in an init state. Yeah. I pretty much always do this, except for like the singular app block. If I do have an app with authorization and routing and whatnot, then there'll be one top level app block that oversees those kinds of details. But otherwise, every screen probably has a block. It's initialized in the stateful widget, not pulled in via an inherited widget or anything. And it just lives for the state of that widget. That's typically how I do things. So then we get into standard block machinery. The block this didn't work here because I am apparently in the wrong folder. There's an app directory in there. It's not very valuable, and I wish I didn't have it. Mistakes were made. All right, so we've got standard block mechanics here. Commented out code, obviously, because what would be a dog water app without a bunch of just hidden stuff? What was this? Oh, I think this is when I had two panels. Yeah. But now there's only one panel. So what did this one do? Oh yeah, you used to have to like double. There was more steps. You like click a thing and then click another button. Oh, here we go. All right, is it working? There's a 5-second polling interval, which apparently it waits 5 seconds to poll anything at all. There we go. Okay, let's try it. I'm going to click one. Mark it down, baby. Still works. All right. Well, let's actually read this comment. Where do you declare your block provider for the first time? Yeah, so that's what I was saying. I'm not using a block provider. I'm just making the block on the page where it's used. I don't have a lot of blocks that outlive their page, and so I don't often have to reach up and grab a different block. To me, if there's any kind of combinatorial logic like that, it is likely best put in the data layer. And the blocks might pull in multiple repositories, which is how a block might learn about information from some other aspect of the app, but it would rarely need another block. That's just my personal preference. Do I use stream transformers often? I've used them to throttle things, debounce, maybe it was. If I have a search field where as the user is typing, I might send network requests to the server. A stream transformer is a super great way to maybe wait a couple 100 milliseconds after a key press to not fire off a network request every time, if it's especially just going to be superseded by the network request that follows after they type another character. So if the person's typing really fast, you can kind of fire an event with your BLoC every key press or every tap, and then allow them to kind of slow down, pause. That's some signal they might be done. And then you can actually send a network request at that point. And a stream transformer is a nice way to do that. I don't really use them for anything else, I don't think. Funny, I'm watching this while developing a Flutter app, and I'm working on a workout pose fixer kind of app using ML and computer vision. Well, that's great. Could you give that to me 15 years ago so I might not hurt my back? That'd be awesome. I'd love that. All right. So back to how this thing works. So what are we looking at here? This is, oh yeah, the list view. So these are all the actual comments. And then we'll dive into this BLoC in a second here. But basically, each element in the item builder uses a gesture detector, obviously, to detect taps. And then here we have our little juggling of selecting and deselecting a message. We might be selecting from nothing, or we might be changing our selection, in which case we need to first get rid of the other one. Actually, that doesn't seem to be exactly what this logic does. Oh yeah, this is if we click on one that it's already clicked on, that deselects it. That's right. And then we just show the UI here. All right, that's all pretty simple. Let's look at the BLoC itself. So this is probably, I think I got this from Mariso Coder, if I remember right. So I can't claim to be the mind that cooked this up. And I wouldn't want to take credit for Riso Coder's combination. I don't know where he got the idea. Maybe he did cook it up. He seems like a pretty smart guy. But the combination that I really like is to use freezed for events. And this goes back to before Dart had sealed classes and pattern matching. Because then freezed had a map method that delivered that functionality. But you use a freezed class that is a sealed union for events. And then you have a single class for state that represents all the information that could possibly exist. And then in your on method in the BLoC, you, instead of doing what the documentation tells you to do, which is what you should do if you don't use freezed for your event, because they'll say have an on declaration for every subclass of event. But if you just call it on the parent class itself, then you can use exhaustiveness checking and a switch statement here to catch each one and delegate to a specific method. And then note that in onSelect chat message, so down here, we actually will have type safety all the way in, because here we're going to expect only that specific type of method. So that's how you handle event routing. And then because you just use one state class, you can simply do state.copyWith in any place where the state changes, as opposed to trying to manage having lots of different state classes and wondering like which ones need to have which of these fields that I care about. Like, to me, that gets messy quickly, and state.copyWith on a single class, I find scales better. So Riso Coder is a real one for coming up with that combination. Use BLoC provider to dispose of your BLoC, or do I call close manually? I believe I call close manually, although I appear to have not done it in this. So great catch. Dispose. Let me Dispose. Why tooltip? Oh, I think I removed tooltips for a screen recording that I was making. All right. Well, we're going to have to type solo here, folks. Super.dispose. And this would be BLoC.close, right? There we go. Thank you. Well, thank you for that. I think this boilerplate for side effects can be resolved by mutation introduced in Riverpod 3.0. I'm unfamiliar with that API, but I should look at it. And all these blocks, why declare the const variables as factories? I struggle with when to use factory for some reason. Oh, yeah. So that's an interesting kind of just Dart concept, right? That I think is easy to overlook. So let's talk about factory constructors real quick. Maybe I'll even just make a new class here, a new file. So this will be, let's set our language to Dart. And then, so if we have a class, there's two types of constructors. And I remember the name of one of them, and I don't remember the name of the other one. But the first one is an actual generative constructor. So that would be like if we had const A here, and when this constructor is invoked, it will actually generate a new instance of A. You could also have named constructors. So you could have const A, if you could type, you could have const A.fancy. So this is just a named constructor. This is still generative, right? So if I have a field here, string, final, of course, otherwise const wouldn't make sense. Name. Now I'll have to say this dot name and this dot name, or I could say string name and then assign it. And we're not getting type hinting because this isn't a save file and all this stuff. But these are both generative constructors. They actually make an object. Now, a factory constructor is not a generative constructor. It's a redirecting constructor, or maybe factory is actually the name for it. I don't know. I don't remember. But a factory constructor is typically named. It has to be named if you have already used the unnamed namespace for a generative constructor. So we could say factory a dot, we'll just call it factory. Nope, that's a keyword. We won't do that. We'll call it fact. Sure. Now, what happens in here is different. First of all, it looks like a function and it has to return an A as opposed to like kind of magically by the Dart VM creating one. That's what generative constructors do. Where the A instance comes into existence in these generative constructors, it happens kind of backstage. And we as developers who are not working on the Dart VM ourselves don't see it. But the factory constructor has to delegate to a generative constructor. So you have to return either A or A.fancy, and you're on the hook for figuring out what the name is. And maybe, you kind of declare that in advance. And that's the point of the factory structure, is to like contain all of that logic. Or maybe you're going to do some extra logic here to concatenate things. So maybe you're going to accept like a first name and a last name. And then the point of the factory constructor would be that you could say first name, last name, and this becomes like the point of having this is performing extra logic. And you could probably perform this extra logic in a generative constructor, doing this kind of variable assignment, but there's other things that are just too much to do. The only thing you can't do is make this asynchronous. I don't believe any constructors in Dart can be asynchronous. So that's the point of factory constructors. And then there's other times where factory constructors happen, and they're a little more arcane. So if you look at like a const factory constructor, this is just some of Dart's class mechanics to like, it's called constructor redirection. And the details here I don't think are all that important, but remember that because a factory constructor is a function. Just so turns out that if like this class's constructor has the exact same signature as this, then like the Dart VM again can redirect them. And because this is a function, it can basically call this other function, and there's no other special magic happening in terms of combining parameters or resolving parameters or whatnot. This is actually just how the sealed union is implemented. Well, hey, Simon, this isn't a lame question. It's a wonderful question. And we're building in theory, so far I've just been chatting, building an app that watches this very YouTube stream's comments and allows me to put those messages on the board. So I'm going to put your message on the board, and you will see. There it is, in too small of text, honestly. So this could be a thing that we maybe work on today, is the sizing of this, because it's a lot better sizing when the text is when you type less. But this is what I'm building, and it is to theoretically replace doing the exact same thing with whatchamacallit itself, StreamYard. You're welcome for the deep dive into factory constructors. All right. Yes, must return a or one of its subclasses. That is true as the contract for a factory constructor. All right. And that's how these work. Because, select chat message, the whole point, freeze is going to generate select chat message, and it is a subclass of chat event. And so that is a legal return value for this constructor. All right. So I think an interesting thing to work on here would be the sizing of the message. So as a reminder of how that part works as well, there's a widget in here somewhere that I think it's got to be in the chat message widget. Apparently there's some imports we can get rid of. Here was some leftover debugging info. That's good stuff. There's a widget in here whose job is to save a rendered version of itself to to a file on disk in a specific spot. And OBS, the streaming software I'm using, is looking for a file in that place, and it's ready. It will always display it as an overlay when it exists. So this, image saver. So there it is. So when there's a file there, it shows on screen, and that's just OBS always watching that spot. But wait a minute. I'm going to bring in OBS here. We're going to get a little infinite mirror. Apologies for that. Not much I can do. So the chat overlay. So here it is. So I've limited its size by this boundary. Why won't you drag? Hello, friend. Say friend and enter. Hello. What's happening here? Do you have a chat overlay? Yeah, you do. Except you're not even showing up at all. Would this work? It does. Interesting. Okay. Well, that's an appropriate message for me to click on. So, chat overlay. Dear friend, why can I not see you in OBS? Oh, that's funny. I can only, to show you all OBS, I have to work on this scene. Otherwise it's not shown to the screen. That's funny. Okay, chat overlay. Here we are. Sir, I insist that you resize yourself so I can move it. I just can't change its dimensions. Why? Properties? No. probably like transform, edit transform. Okay, I do recall like a month ago hard coding this, but I would have expected to be able to change it. Anyway, whatever. Bounding box size. So I gave it 1,000 pixels by 200 pixels. And then I think the issue that I was having was it would always make the object fit the whole size here. So I think we just have to change some of these settings. So position alignment top left, that's good. Scale to inner bounds. This sounds like, I don't know bounds. No, I just want it to be its natural size, but then limited by the bounds. That doesn't seem to be an option. Maximum size only. Ugh, no. Alignment in bounding box. What's the difference between alignment in bounding box and positional alignment? I don't know. Crop to bounding box. This is weird. I don't want to use a Python plugin. I do like no argument against Python, of course. All right, let's give this more space. So my whole streaming resolution here is 1920 by 1080. So I'll give it like 1800. No, that's too many. 1700? Maybe what if it didn't clip me as much as it does on StreamYard? There we go. 1500. That seems good. So close. Different. Position. Yeah, okay, that's good. Good. Scale to inner bounds. I don't know what the inner bounds versus outer bounds are. I don't see those as options here. We just have bounds. And then the alignment of the bounding box. Let's just change this and see what changes. Nothing, it seems. Okay. So now if I click one, let's see how it rescales. Interesting. So it's definitely just bigger. What happens when I one with more text? So I think this is fine. I would like see, what I want is for the text to be the same always and not scale the whole way over. So like this one, yeah, you have entered. Also, oh, look, it's not left aligned. That feels like a setting that we were just looking at. So back to chat overlay and transform, edit transform. So alignment in bounding box. So yeah, let's do center left. There it is. Okay, that's good. Now, so cropped bounding box, that didn't change anything. Edit, transform again. I wish that was a keyboard shortcut. I wish we'd rotate it 45 degrees. That would be a fun and terrible effect. So, I'm not sure if this is really going to work. The other thing we could do, some liquid glass implementations. Chat about, I see people are responding to a message about liquid glass. I don't see the original message. Yeah, 5 liquid glass implemented. There's more than 5. I think there's like 10. But there might be less than 10 because I wouldn't be surprised if some people have just copied each other's and slightly tweaked. All right, it's expanding to the maximum size, and that is what I don't want. So what if we had no bounds here? Oh, this seems scary. I'm going to pick a different message here that's much longer. Here we go. This one's longer. Okay, so no bounds is not good. Kind of as expected. So stretch to bounds, scale to inner bounds. I think that's what I had before. Oh, no, it doesn't exist. That, I did not expect that to break it. Not gonna lie. Okay, scale to outer bounds. Why isn't it working? It just doesn't work anymore. Oh, the bounding box became 1 pixel by 1 pixel. Okay, that's not enough. How did that change? 15 by 200, I think we were doing. Okay, there we go. Sanity is restored. Edit transform. Bet you didn't realize you were turning up for a OBS stream today. All right, so these are kind of, yeah, I want them to have the same font size. I want these ones to not grow. So I'm trying to, we're developing against OBS. Look at this, layered messages. That's good. I should have clicked my own thing here. Yeah, we're developing against OBS. All right, let's reason about this. The image that Flutter saves is going to be, I believe, basically always the size that I want. And then I'm pretty sure it is OBS that is growing the small ones or shrinking the bigger ones. But I just, of course, fine with it shrinking the bigger ones, but I don't want it to grow the small ones. And also, if we could have that rule, then I could give it more height. But right now, it's going to keep growing to let's go to like 720, I guess. See, more height would actually be good, but I don't want the short messages to use the whole 300 pixels necessarily. And I don't really see how to do this. I may be hitting a limitation. Emoji test. See, that is good, but then that's cool. I mean, that's honestly fine. There's a long one. Maybe. Oh, this was the original message about liquid glass. I found it. Yeah. Well, folks are talking about it. Lots of package recommendations in the chat. All right, I think I'm just going to have to live with this. Yeah, the longer messages, the text gets a little shorter, and the bigger oh my goodness. What are these tests? What is this? These messages are too long, and they're just blank lines. What are you doing? Yeah. All right, I think we're living with this. And let's work on some other aspect of it because you seem constrained by the OBS overlay functionality. I'm probably pushing it into a space that it was not intended to support. So that's okay. This does mean we are now 41 minutes into the stream and I have done functionally nothing. What are you going to do? All right, let's see what else we should work on. I think a nice thing would be that stream to a screen to input the API key. I think that would be good. Why don't we do that? Then we can stop having API keys in. Oh, and then we should also input the video ID. That'll be good. So there's actually quite a bit we could do here, because now we're going to have some global state that's going to transform from one screen to another. And that opens up a whole bunch of questions, like, do we need a BLoC provider? Do we need, I'm still not going to use one, but it would be reasonable to use one. We're going to have some sort of like, someone mentioned get it earlier. I think I am going to use get it. All right. This will be good, and it'll actually be kind of a miracle if I finish this in the next 50 minutes. So that's what I'm going to work on. We'll get rid of this debugging info. And what did this do? Chat bubble state. More debugging info. This was old implementation. We'll get rid of you. Very well. I don't think anyone's scared of liquid glass. I've seen a lot of really good implementations. I think maybe what you're sensing, what you're describing as being scared of liquid glass, is this fear that there's going to be something that Flutter can't do. It'll be like a clear differentiator between using Flutter and building native apps. And during WWDC, I know a lot of people were wondering whether or not that was going to be the case. But by sundown of that day, there were already darn good liquid glass implementations on Twitter. And a thing that I just thought was pretty fun is that, it would not be recommended to put liquid glass in your iOS app yet, because that's just for like the beta releases. But you could have liquid glass in your Flutter app by the end of the day on whatever day WWDC was. So no real fear there, I don't think. Okay. So we're going to need a new screen, and this will, I think, basically always be the starter screen. Do I have a screens folder? Here we go. Export chat. How does this work? Oh, I'm in the screens folder here entirely. Wonderful. New folder. So this will be the input. Values input. I'm trying to give it a little better name. Now let's make a new file in here. Values input.dart. And let's make a new file again. This will be the values input screen.dart. And that is going to be, I'll make it the default screen for now. It would be nice if we can even use local storage and like persist these values. Actually, there's probably no reason to do that because the stream itself will have changed. And we'll get to that later. So I'm going to just quickly make a stateful widget. Oh, I disabled all of the tooltips. I have to type everything from scratch. Am I using ShadCN in this? I kind of want to use ShadCN. PubSpec. Yeah, nope, wrong one. PubSpec. Am I using ShadCN? No. Oh, this would be the time. Let's do it. Add dependency. And let's use ShadCN Flutter. There's ShadCN UI as well. And it's probably really good too. I just haven't used that one. I have been using ShadCN_Flutter. So we will now not import material. We will import ShadCN Flutter. There we go. Class. What did I call this? Values, input, screen. This is going to be a memory test since I have no tooltip help. Implements stateful widget. And then we need a create state. We need a constructor. And we need state of values input screen, create state. Values input screen state. extends state. And here we just need a build method. Which for now will return a scaffold out of Shadsian. I'm pretty sure it was called scaffold. Oh, you're probably missing parameters. There we go. Wonderful. Now what's your problem? I'm not getting any tooltips. I got to turn that off. How did I do that again? Parameter hints enabled. Yeah, let's probably those. Anything else? Editor hover enabled. Might want that. Okay. There we go. No associated. What are you talking about? How would a stateful widget not have a key parameter? You're out your mind. Oh, extends? There we go. And this is override. Now we're cooking. Indeed I did, Electric Cookie. What a name. What a name. Can we all just give Electric Cookie a round of applause here for this name? That's incredible. Literally the best name. Oh, and you were saying it earlier too. Not only the hottest name in the history of Observable Flutter, but a keen eye as well. Okay, so the Shadsian form of scaffold is pretty cool. It just takes a list of widgets for headers, a list of widgets for footers. So those could be nav bars, navigation bars, whatever you want. And then a single child parameter. I'm not going to worry about any sort of nav right now. We're just going to put probably a column in here. And this will have some children. And the first child will be let's call this the API key input. And then we'll have another widget that will be the video ID input. Extends stateless. No, this will have to be stateful as well. Actually, I should be able to just make a stateful widget the serious way now. Nope. God bless it. Son of a gun. Now we'll actually and these are they're gonna have to have more vertical things here. So I guess we'll have to maybe start with first an expanded. And then the child here will be another column. And then here, let's have a text widget that says API key, which is of course in the children parameter. And then let's put a little sized box, give ourselves some breathing room. Height 16, I don't know. And wow, see, the tooltips are so annoying. That's why I turn them off. They're like the whole screen at all times. It is nuts. I think I'm just going to turn them right back off. Now we want a text field. And this is going to need a controller, which doesn't exist yet. So we'll make it. Text editing controller. And then let's have a dispose method. don't appear to have, I turned down the things that I dislike and left off the things that I wanted. I'll put that at the bottom. I think there can actually maybe make this like a single widget. Combine the, yeah, let's make this just like an input widget. Text input widget. How about that? And then through parameters, we'll diversify what this widget does. I'll highlight all the instances of it and change its name. Okay. And then we need a button. Primary button, is that what they're called in ShadCN land? Button.primary, that's what it is. So our on press on tap. What are your parameters here? Leading, trailing. So we need a child and on pressed. So on pressed is going to be, actually we'll just pass in on pressed, and then the child is going to be oh no, I don't want a button per thing. That's madness. Let's do init state. So we're going to have to, reason we don't want to save button per input, then we just want one at the end of the file. So we'll put a sized box, height 24. I'm telling you, that tooltip is so big and so oppressive. I'm actually just turning it back off. Can I Command Z? Are they all hidden again? Are they turned off? There. Okay, good. Should leave me alone. So here we'll have the button dot primary with an on pressed that will currently be nothing, and a child of text save. All right. So now in the init state of the controller, we can wire up all text changes in this text field to the parent widget, which will actually manage what's going on here. So we could say controller dot on, oh God, see, now I did want it. Don't, there's two modes that I want my IDE to behave in. One is I'm recording like a screen recording where the typing is important and the tooltips are annoying. The other one is actual coding. And boy, are they different. And when you're in one and you want the other, life is painful. Oh, is it on? Does anyone remember what I typed? Craig, zoom out, please. I don't think I'm going to be able to accommodate this. I apologize, Flutter Universe. A lot of people watch this on their phone, and it's the only way they'll be able to read. Move the controllers out of the parent, then you can read the text on save. Oh, yeah, we could pass in the controller. That's a good idea. Oh, another person says zoom out. Is this too zoomed in? Would just one help a lot? Is this better? Why am I using the video ID and not the channel ID? Because that is what the YouTube v3 API requests. All right, apparently that was too zoomed in. This is what we want. So what is my zoom level here? Is that stored in the settings? Zoom level 0. Crazy. The default setting was best all along. Yeah, when I'm not on stream, I like do this or something, but that's too small. All right, so let's accept a controller, and then we probably don't even need to have a stateful widget. Stateless widget, this dot controller, which will be a final text editing controller. Okay, that's looking good. This probably can't be const anymore. Could I please? Oh no, there's no tooltip. Oh my God. So I do want the hover on edit, I think. That's the one that I'm really hurting without. And I saw that in here. Where's hover? There it is. So I'm going to comment out that. And now will you tell me what the problem is? Nice. The parameter controller can't have, oh, it has to be required, of course. Okay. So now we can have two controllers up here. So this will be, I guess, the API key controller. And then we'll have also the video ID controller. Okay. Now this will have to be a value. So this will be a display value. And we'll just call it display. So display here will be API key. Oh, nope, wrong one. This one will be video ID. Ooh, obscure input. Yeah, that's an interesting idea. I guess just the API key would want that, huh? Yeah, how do we do that again? Let's look it up. Flutter, text editing. Oh, it's on text field, probably. Yeah. Obscure text property. I was thinking about it on the controller. So this would be the API key. Oh, and then we'd have to surf it as a parameter. We don't need, oh, I will grab these because we'll put the dispose up on the higher method. There we are. And we'll dispose both of these real quick. Okay, so now we're going to have to let's see here. Text field. Yeah. So this would be obscure. Obscure text. Oh no. Do. Okay, that's a good idea. I like it. Because I have mangled my editor to turn it off because last week I was just doing a screen recording for something and I changed like 20 settings to get it to do literally nothing, which is what I wanted then. And now everything is turned off. And I should have thought about that before this stream, but we're rolling with it. Okay, so now in a init state, we can add handlers to these controllers. Yeah, see, I want it to like autocomplete. I don't want it to show the whole giant tooltips, which actually it is still doing. So I think I'm just really outsmarting myself here and making this. Oh, here we go. Quick suggestions. Is this what I want? See, also, it's actually quite challenging to there's like a million settings to configure how you want. So what did that do? Yeah, here we go. This I do certainly want. Add listener. There we go. So this takes probably the value. It doesn't take the value. We just have, I think we'd like get the value this way. That's a funny API. Okay. So we are about ready to set this up. So let's now go to main.dart and change from chat screen to screens. We're going to have to import, what do I call this? Values input. Values input screen. Is main.dart not importing the screens thing? Oh no, that's so funny. Okay, so that file does exist. What's your grievance? It's unused. Oh, okay. Much better. All right, it's time to run the app. Look at all these problems. All right, I don't care about that. Okay. Hope my name doesn't break the code. Oh yeah, there's a problem with the radio group thing. So I have to like hide radio group. I think this is what I have to do. I think this problem only exists on the beta version of Flutter. It's funny though, that error only comes up at runtime. It's a little annoying. No, I still have the problem. How did I fix this before? Oh, I think I literally had to switch back to stable. Yeah. That's what I did. Yeah. All right, this will take a second. And I will talk with you all. Are barrel files just for aesthetic purposes, or is there more to it? Asks Train of Thought. Also, Train of Thought, great to see you. Yeah, Randall says they are to declutter your import lists. That is it. So if you look at material.dart, the file itself, let me just, I beg of you to get out of the way. Material.dart is nothing more than a bunch of exports. And now, obviously, every time you import material.dart, you're not using all of these things. If you're only using one, then you're not decluttering a lot. Though it's still probably cleaner and more standardized and just better. But imagine you're using 10 of these on a various screen and like 15 on a different screen and whatnot. Just importing material.dart is a big declutterer. So yeah, not much else to it than that. Yeah, there's some work on the more that you import, it doesn't really hurt much like when you're normally developing, but Build Runner is heavily taxed by it. There's some work right now ongoing from the language team to make Build Runner more smarter. All right, downloading some tools, still clicking there. Electric Cookie says, I think if you have less than 10 lines of imports, adding barrel just adds more maintenance to a code base. Yeah, that could be debatably true. I still prefer it because it makes everything a little more predictable. So it's like there's just always a barrel file, and one per feature ends up being really nice. But certainly, in my case where I've got a barrel file that's routing through 2 folders and then it's in the end only exporting 1 file, that isn't, it's not adding anything there other than predictability and standardization for me. It's certainly not doing anything else. All right, Flutter upgrade. Smaller packages is just a God tier recommendation at all times, basically. Totally agree. Flutter checkout has local changes. Oh my goodness gracious. Dev, git, Flutter. What do I have here? Git status. This is not important, my friend. Oh, I'm just going to remove it then. Yeah, it's untracked. How did that get there? Why is it? That's weird. I suppose I need to put that on my global git ignore. So let's do RF. Make sure I don't type the wrong thing here. Yeah, I wanted to see if I did have any changes that were important. That's true. Once I saw that I didn't have anything important, I could have just gone back and run that command. Yeah. Macros ended up being just a problem with unbounded complexity. Or at least after several years of working on it, and by several I mean like 5, the bounds had yet to be pinned down. So the original question, is static metaprogramming dead because it was suspended due to difficult implementation? Yep. It is dead as originally spec'd, as Randall said. There's some 80-20 rule stuff that's going to take place and is ongoing. So speeding up Build Runner, some actual data class stuff in the language potentially, and more. Can you put some light on async await? What I'm confused about is, imagine we do an image processing and use await call. Which thread actually does the work? We are not swapping a new isolate. So how? Yeah, okay. This is great. And folks are starting to answer here. But async await is, yeah, everything stays. If you do async await, everything stays on the thread that you are on. Nothing leaves. So async await is really valuable when code execution is leaving your thread for some other reason, like you're reading file from the disk, or you're making a network request, or those are probably the 2 most common things, honestly. And in those situations, like the train of thought that your app is working on, not to be confused with the viewer currently in chat, is out to lunch from like your Codebase's perspective. It's somewhere else doing something totally different. So async await allows Dart's event loop. And the key here is that Dart has an event loop, just like JavaScript. And there's a really great mini series on YouTube called Asynchrony in Dart. And it's 5 parts, and it walks through the event loop and how all of this works. Highly recommend. And so anyway, if that allows the event loop to be like, okay, this little, subplot of the app is on hold right now, and I'm going to wait until something comes back and puts it back on the event loop, and then I will resume. And what it does is if there's anything else in the event loop, it will work on those things. If there's nothing else in the event loop, then your app will just sit there, which is fine because no code wants to be executed. But if it's your app, then the user might be touching the screen or doing something. And so you're animating, you're building new widget trees, you're calling set state. And so those things are allowed to continue on the one and only thread that is the UI thread while the network request or the read from disk resolves. If you use async await to recursively calculate the 15th Fibonacci number or to process an image, then you're basically saying, you have one thread on this event loop, and you're saying that the current code that I'm working on is going to wait until that other task completes. But that other task is on the same event loop. And so the image processing gets to the front of the event loop, and it just churns until it's done, and it holds up the whole event loop. And so that's why it doesn't help, because only a network request or the read for the image off disk leaves the Dart VM. And that's where you need a new isolate, which is another thread, essentially, that will run on another core on your computer. If you had a single core computer, then even that wouldn't help. But I don't think there's been any single core computers made in a long time. And then that image processing or calculating the 15th Fibonacci number recursively can happen somewhere else. And then functionally, from the perspective of your iThread, it's the same as a network request because it's just out of sight, out of mind, and it's not holding up the event loop. Hope that made sense. All right. The app is maybe going to be runnable. Normally I control R and I regret up arrowing. Oh, for goodness gracious. All right, which thing here? PubSpec? This is just probably my app because I've made this app on. Yep. There we go. Flutter pub get. Oh, that I ran on its own. Okay. It's getting exciting. Oh yeah, that error comes up all the time. It's getting exciting now. One day this app will run again. Build Runner, maybe I'm wrong, seems to try to rebuild everything with macros. I wanted a way to rebuild just the file you're working on. Why is that difficult? The dependency graph, the developer experience, what you show in the IDE, there's generated code. You're going to want to debug that code. You might want to step through it, add breakpoints to it, but they're like virtual files. Macros could depend on macros, It was the thing that they were going for had a tremendous amount of complexity. All right, I think I'm missing. Oh yeah, I need to give it a shad CN theme. Maybe I'll put it in the main method. That seems good. Let's wrap this with I'm going to bring in Flutter. No, shad CN Flutter. There we go. And instead of material app, I'll do a shad cn app. So maybe we don't need this container anymore. We might have to look at the documentation here. We might have to go real old school. Yeah, theme is required. There we are. So this will be, I don't know. I don't remember how to do this. Theme data. Theme dot dark. To the shad cn documentation we go. Oh, the color scheme. That's what it was. Where's my code? Okay, well, it's your problem. Huh? Oh, I'm looking at the wrong. Yeah, this is the one that I'm using. It does help to look at the documentation for the correct package. I highly recommend that you do that. Theme. Here we go. Theme data. This looks more familiar. Okay, still problems. Maybe it's a double comma. Nope, there's more problems than that. Not a const constructor. All right. Whew. It's not a beautiful UI, but it's a UI. So we do have our our obscured text. Our controller is working and our video ID is working. And if I were to paste in values, that of course would work as well. And then we have save down here. This is gorgeous. This is just a gorgeous UI. I'm so happy about it. Let's close some of these files. Tidy this up just a tiny bit here. So let's put a spacer above everything and a spacer below everything. And then let's say main axis alignment. Raise your hand if you can't wait for the shorthands, the dot shorthands. I'm like oddly obsessed with when that feature arrives. Space around. How about that? All right, much better. Now let's put a little padding on this. And let's say here, vertical, nope, horizontal, 16. And you, whoa, can you all hear that car driving around? Is the spacer redundant? That's interesting. Edge insets. Do I have to do symmetric? Is that it? That's what it is. All right, there's a theory that spacer is redundant. Okay, this all looks still terrible, but so much better. I'm going to get rid of just one spacer, and we'll see. Okay, now if I get rid of the other spacer as well. Yeah, see, I wanted them to kind of be pushed into the middle. So I think the spacers on the outside were helpful. There we go. Yeah, dude, that car was so loud. Can you imagine having a car that loud? Like thinking that every time you leave your house, everyone of your neighbors needs to know about it. Like what a crazy bit of just main character syndrome. Like, dude, go pick up, milk or eggs or whatever you're doing. But like the rest of us don't care, man. All right. So now it's time for actually a little state management around this. So let's think about the right way to do this. We got this widget. And I think I want to have a single values repository. It's going to be ultra simple. Maybe we can use shared preferences to persist those, but this value could then we'll use getIt to retrieve this single thing. Yeah, I like this. I like it. So let's add a dependency of getIt. Okay, looking good. And now we're going to add a new file that will be dependency injection, new file, dependency injection.dart. And this will have a function import package getIt void set up dependency injection. And we'll do things here like getIt.I. Do we call register singleton? And then we give it the type here, I think. So this will be like the values repository. And then we'll instantiate one. And that doesn't exist yet, but it will soon. And then in our main file, actually, I'm just going to future-proof this and make it async in case something one day will be asynchronous in our setup, in all likelihood. So now back in main.dart, we can import. First of all, we'll await setup di. We'll import that function, and we'll make our main method future-proof as well. Does anyone else call their thing future-proofing? I never have before, but I like it, and I'm going to henceforth. New file, this will be the values repository. We'll have values like democracy and equality for all. Those will be our values. And on this hill, we found our city. Class values repository. And now we need to export it. Yes, equal representation under the law. That'll be a big one. I like that value. Randall, you want to come on? No, I have a conflict next week. Let's do it. You want to be the guest the week after that? Pretty sure I'm still around. We'll chat offline. I'll have to consult my calendar. I have a one-off conflict next week, so there won't be an observable flutter on today's date plus 7 days. But yeah, looking at schedule, wonderful. All right, values repository. So here we're going to have a final string that's going to be the API key. No, it's not final. How insane to think that that would be final. And then another string, and they'll actually be nullable, won't they? That is video ID. Yes. So now we'll have a couple methods here. Void set API key, string API key, and make these methods because we'll have some like shared preferences one day. Video ID, set video ID. But for now, actually, if we make this nullable, then that can also be the clear function, can't it? And then, let's just do shared preferences right away. Import this. pubspec.yaml. Add a dependency of shared preferences. Okay. Now, this isn't going to be the most testable code. Ideally, we would wrap shared preferences in something, but We're running out of time. Eventually have to write some actual code and not like factory code. So we have shared preferences now. And I will get its instance. And I think that is register. I think this is async, if I remember right. What's the problem here? Isn't defined? What? Register async singleton. How is that not a thing? What are you talking about? Huh. Register. Oh, I wonder if it's singleton async. Register singleton async. Touche. Oh, you know what? This could be a tear off, couldn't it? All right. That's pretty great. So now in here, we can say, so this is where we could have a factory constructor. Oh, let's do that. I wouldn't actually, so what I would really do is this. I would say, get it dot I. Oh, we could do, so we'll first write it. We'll explore here. I'm not sure how I would do this. Shared preferences, which of course would be wrapped with like a generic caching class or something. And then we'd set this to shared preferences like this. So we could say preferences. That's not how you spell preferences. This would be final late. Late final. Okay. This seems reasonable. But if we wanted to do a factory constructor, and we could have even more dependency injectionary by accepting a shared preferences object, prefs, then we would need a generative constructor. So this could say this dot shared preferences. We can even use the private value there. And now what this could do is return values repository, and we'll pass it because this will be nullable and like optional. So this will be prefs or get it shared preferences. Yeah, that seems good. Where do you want to go? What is your problem? Declaration of isn't referenced. Oh, that is true. I wrote that as an infinite loop. Cool. All right. So now here we say shared preferences dot set string. And this, let's add some keys to this. Const final, or no, static const. API key. Nice. And then we'll have our video ID key. All right, so we say if the API key does not equal null, then we set it. Oops. So that'll be our const value here. And we set it to the API key. Otherwise, shared preferences dot clear. No, I think that deletes everything. I want to remove the string. Remove? What does remove do? Remove an entry. There we go. Good. And Let's copy all this down into this other method. Oh, and then there's another thing we need to do. We need to read these values out for initial values. Oops. I did not have the right thing in my clipboard. Okay, that's looking good. So now we'll need to call like maybe this init method, initialize. Yeah, sure. And this will be private because we're calling it in this constructor, so we're hiding it. The outside world needn't concern itself. Void initialize, and we will say if shared preferences, do we have like a has key? Has key exists or something? Contains key. Wonderful. So if you contain this key, then set the value to shared preferences dot get string and we'll do all this again for the video key. It's getting exciting now. Okay. Should we remove the key and not the value? Well, if the user sets null, then I think we want to I don't think they're async. Well, they are async. Oh my gosh. I don't know if I've ever made a statement and then proven myself wrong in such rapid succession. Amazing. Amazing. Presumably this is then as well. Wow. Wow. As Owen Wilson would say, wow. This also means that initialize is going to need to be This creates some fun stuff around like whether or not the object is the initialization has been completed. Wait, why did await? Why is await not being a thing here? Await on an instance of string. Wait a minute. What's going on here? Oh, wait, getting is not async. Is that what was going on here? You said, oh, set is async, get is sync. That is so wonderful for me. That is so great because now initialize can be synchronous, which is really valuable. So he's remove. I had already command clicked on that. That one is async. All right. All right. Look at this. So now we can go back to our values input screen. Haven't really needed like a block yet. Not going to use that. I will just say, I don't even think we really need to await this, but we'll say, oh, I need to grab this thing. Late final values repository. Oops. Okay, so now I'll have an init state. And we import get it. Get it. Got it. Good. Now, goodness gracious, I already had an init state. I'm so dumb. It's unbelievable how dumb I am. I don't know why any of you were watching me. Everyone, get better hobbies. What are you doing? This is set API key. And the value that we pass is this. Oh my God, the tooltip! And here we set video ID. And we pass the correct value. All right. All right. Please only persist on save. Yeah, that's not a terrible idea. I don't know if I agree with your no, but I probably do agree with the only persist on save. So we can do that. This will be, I'm going to skip all validation because I'm a lazy person and we eventually have to wrap this up. So on press, I'm also not even going to bother putting this in a special method. I will just do this for now. And we don't have to add any listeners. We do still have to fetch the values repository. Actually, the funny thing is, we really could not even have this be an instance. No, wait a minute. That's not right. Oh, you know what I need to do? I need to set the initial values to API key. Yeah. What's your problem? You're nullable. Of course. Of course. This is like nearly the entire point. Love it. And now I will also say, like, if you are empty, then set it to null. Because I don't really have the idea of persisting an empty string. I don't want that. So if you are empty, then set it to null. Otherwise, do the real value. Okay. Opa. Dude, I know it's driving me crazy. I don't know why. I used to have this problem when I would plug my camera into my computer through a hub, a USB hub, but I'm going straight into my laptop today. I just maybe need to restart everything or something. I don't know. Yeah, I'm just moving at like 800 FPS. So, how does it feel to have my code judged? I think it's fun. You all unstuck me a lot. You set video ID to empty string, not null. Is that normal? Oh, no. Thank you. I presume you were talking about that bit of gibberish that I typed and it made literally no sense. See, it felt great. So Dante, feels so good to not have had to troubleshoot that bug later. I love it. Ooh, I think we can run the app and then we could say here, let's do like if, so this will be the tiniest bit of validation. And then I'd have to like put a scaffold, a toast or something. If video ID controller.text. So, so if this is not empty and the API key controller dot text dot is not empty, then we can navigate print, and we'll end here, I think. Navigate to the chat screen. So I'm restarting the app. Yep. And I do the old Flutter binding initialized. Flutter binding dot ensure. Flutter widgets binding, right? Flutter widgets binding dot ensure. Okay. Widgets Flutter binding. This is, never type anything, ever, under any circumstances, ever type anything from memory, ever. That is not ready yet. I think I'm going to have to just do a full reboot. I remember you talking about stream transformers for debouncing a search text box. Will be bad if you directly add search events and wrap that in a debounce function directly in the on change. No, you can debounce anywhere. The point of debouncing is to not do a piece of work that is expensive, like more quickly than is necessary, more quickly than could even be helpful. So if you debounce it anywhere, that's okay. Wow, no, it's bad again here. Okay, what's the problem? Shared preferences is not ready yet. Why? So we already have done this. I'm going to have to go look at the documentation for this. I don't know what the problem is. Yeah, I truly have no idea. Flutter, shared preferences. If any of you knows this off the top of your head, I'll be real impressed. Pinch yourself to confirm you're not an AI programmer. I can't pinch myself. That would be crazy. All right. What's my setup here? Literally nothing. Oh, I have to await. Do I have to await? I guess I kind of assumed the async thing would do that. I don't know here. Let's try awaiting. Oh, and then you would need to be async. But this just feels redundant. This has got to be redundant. Oh, we got to go to the implementation. Where's the implementation? There we go. What was the method called? How does this work? Okay. Register. So the factory func is just passed in here. So let's look at register. So this gets the factory func async. So that was this parameter. And then some scopes juggling. I'm going to double. Well, it's turning into quite a bit of digging here. I feel like a paleontologist. How do you work? So that was this parameter. It is not awaited here. Okay. So I think I had to await it. Quite a bit of digging, but I believe that will still break. Nice. What? Can't just await the factory? Well, it doesn't work. Yeah. Why is this being this way? Sure. But man, I mean, the code that we're about to write feels like it should be functionally identical in the end. I don't, but we'll see. Like, something is confusing. Something is escaping my awareness if this changes anything. And it changed something. So that was a good idea. All right. The test here is that we save an API key and a video ID, and we press save, and we got our navigate thing. Of course, that was super easy. But now if we refresh, we should have values in here again. And I think we did, even though it wasn't very obvious. So I'm going to hot restart and do it again. And we will have our intro screen. Await setup DI. Oh, is that the problem? No, I am awaiting that. Await get it instance is ready. Okay. Let's go back to that. Let's do it the correct way. So then we can probably do this. And we'll pass this in as a async. And so now the whole thing, see, oh, this is funny. So I was going to have to hard code await it somewhere. I guess this makes sense because we have a synchronous constructor down here that is happening immediately. Yeah, I suppose this was unavoidable. This makes sense. So we have done the same thing, but we've done it the get it way. All right. Thank you. See, I love having my code judged immediately. But if I had more time today, if I'd talked less, what I would do next is add Go router. And I would have some top level logic. So we would have a splash screen first. Actually, maybe we'd go to this screen every time. That would probably be fine because the user may or may not want to use their past, video ID. And get out of here, tooltip. So we'd have Go router added in, and Go router would be invoked right here. Oh, we could add Go router because there is not really. We might as well do it. Let's add Go router. There it is. There it is. How do I want to do this? I guess we can just declare an instance variable here. All right, so our first route, let's have a class. This will be the chat, or no, the chat screen route. No, what am I even talking about? The path, very good, yeah. This will be chat, I guess. All right, now this needs like a material builder or something. Randall, I appreciate the Gemini CLI standing, but next week is still a no. But the next stream 2 weeks from now, that'd be fun. Let's do it. Configuration. Here we go. Yeah, the builder. That's the good stuff right there. Okay, so this is the chat screen. We have to import our screens. This is a place where a barrel file is going to pay some dividends, I reckon. And now we also need the values. input route, and that'll be values, I guess. Values input screen. So this will be another route. And that'll also be the initial route. Boo. What's it called? Initial location. And that'll be this, the path. Okay, this is probably already enough. So now we can go back to our main.dart file, and we'll use shadcn.router. And instead of passing it a home, we'll pass it, what are the two parameters that we need here? These ding-dongs. Oh, router. What? Oh, there's so many things here. Can I just pass the router? Let's go to the documentation because I don't remember. Do I have it open here? No. Shadcn, Flutter, documentation. Installation. Do you have the router thing here? No. Introduction. No. Router. You know what? I think I have this somewhere. Yeah, look at the code for my game. Pretty sure I have this. So if you go to lib main to dart, what did I do? Oh, crap. Oh, I didn't. I'm still using a material app. Oh, wait. No, I have to switch branches. Okay. Everyone close your eyes. Just kidding. Here we go. Router. So I want just router config. Oh, so good. So good. Was very easy. Where's my main file? Here we go. Now, what did I call it? It's let's differentiate it a little bit. We'll call it app router. So that will go here. And we have to import it. And that's great. Yeah, we should probably do it from get. We should probably do it from get it. This will be a Go router. Yeah, it'd be weird to have this floating global here. So now in that dependency method, we will say get it I register singleton, and that will be the app router. Nice. Nice. All right. So now we can go back to here and say context.go. And we think I have to import Go router for that method to exist. And the route that we will go to, no, I want my router file, thank you, is chatscreen.path. Yeah, that's a little dirty. Just pulling in this random global. Yeah, I would tidy that up in a better world. There's a chance this will work. Now I'll have to put in the actual API key and the actual video. So let me do that. Okay. Have the video ID. And now let me get that API key, which I do believe I will be able to just paste in here because one of you geniuses prompted me to make this obscure text. Save. We route. And crash. No, it worked. All right. The 5-second delay. Let's go. Can you believe it? All right. Okay. Can I play the ding sound when it's done? No, that's not possible. Could never be. Could never be done to the Gemini CLI. Warren, your mother and I were talking last night, and I assured her that you were going to matter in life, and she had her doubts. But now I think the ball is in your court. I think you have the upper hand in the debate of whether or not you are going to matter in life generally. And you do. And she sees that now. So good job. All right, folks, that will do it for today. This was a long one, full 2 hours. I'm going to commit this and put it back on the Observable Flutter GitHub repository. Let me do a little Briggity brand thing here. Nope, someone deleted my banner. Thank you. That was nice of them. Yeah, there's... Did they really do this? Why are they doing this to me? I don't like it. The Observable Flutter repository on GitHub. It's under my name. I guess I can just go back to that real quick. We'll show it here. Nope, wrong one. So first of all, let's add all these files. Plus, and this will say added API key, and what else did I do? Video ID screen. Super good. Inconsistent capitalization. Push that. And now, this summer, if you go to github.com, Observable Flutter, and look at the YouTube Watcher app, you will see a commit that just came in about adding that screen. And if you want to follow along at home, which is questionable, then you can. So let me do. No, that doesn't make the thing bigger. All right, I'm going to make a new. I wish they'd stop deleting my little banners. That'd be nice. There it is. I don't have this functionality baked into the little Flutter app yet of like custom one-off things that aren't in the chat. I was actually thinking about this while I was walking my dog this morning. I was thinking I might need to be like, someone type the name of the URL into the chat so I can so I can put it on the screen. But then I didn't end up not using StreamYard anyway. All right, folks, that will do it for today. Again, next week, I have a one-off conflict, a different work thing. So there will be no Observable Flutter in 1 week. I expect we'll be back in 2 weeks for a stream, potentially with Randall to vibe code this way faster. Randall, maybe we could vibe code it from scratch, or maybe we can enhance it, what's already there, either one. We'll decide that later. And then my wife and I are going on vacation, and I'm going to be off for 1 or 2 weeks again. But thank you all for joining. I had a really great time, and I will see you all in the next one.